The West Virginia men's basketball team is in a familiar spot as it heads to Provo for a really late night game tonight in the underdog spot.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's up, guys? Welcome back in. My name's Mountaineer Paul. I am your host, and this is Locked On West Virginia. Thanks for joining, guys. It's going to be brought to you by FanDuel. New customers right now, you can get $150 in bonus bets. That's if you win your first $5 bet. Make sure you head to FanDuel.com to get started. It's game time, baby. Tonight, we play West Virginia versus BYU in Provo in a game that's going to be electric. It's going to have a great atmosphere. BYU has one of the best home court advantages in all of college basketball, averages out to almost 5 points per game difference when they're at home versus on the road. Though they're in the 99th percentile at home defensively. And on the road, they're in the 4th percentile, the biggest difference in a college basketball. So they are a totally different team at home. That's per Brad Howell from Three Guys Before the Game. And this team is the hottest team in the league right now. They dominated Kansas by 40 at home. They made 12 threes against Arizona State, or 18 threes, or whatever it was. And it was all kickstarted by a win versus West Virginia. So the ESPN's matchup predictor doesn't see West Virginia having a very large chance, right around 76% chance to lose this game and for BYU to win the game. And the numbers kind of look like that makes some sense. Points per game with BYU's at 81, but on this run, they're at almost 87. 68 points a game for West Virginia, almost 67. The scoring margin, plus 4.5 for West Virginia, plus 11.5 for BYU, which is really good. Field goal percentage, BYU is almost at 50%, 48% field goal percentage. West Virginia at 42. They're allowing people to score at 43, while West Virginia is right around the 40 mark. Both teams shoot it right around, BYU is closer to 37%, West Virginia closer to 32% from three. West Virginia, one of the best in the country at limiting threes at 29%. BYU right around 35. West Virginia is 73% free throw shooting team. BYU is at 68. BYU rebounds it at 37 a game. West Virginia is at 33. Assists, BYU has a 4-point advantage, 17-13. Turnovers, right around 1.5 more a game than West Virginia, 11.8 to 10.6. Steals per game, virtually identical, 7.3 and 7.7. Blocks per game, West Virginia gets about 1 and the change more, 3.1 to 4.3. And obviously, West Virginia is on a 1-game streak versus BYU's 5-game streak. Starting lineup for BYU has been, or at least their most productive lineup over the last 5 games. Demon, Nail, Saunders, Mag, and Keita, Catchings. So this is a squad, like I said, coming into the game, playing extremely well. Everybody knows that. They're doing it with offense. Their defense hasn't been, what ours has been, but at home, like I said, they're a different animal. 91-81 win over Arizona State on the road on Wednesday. 5th straight win, 3rd game scoring at least 90 points in a game. BYU scored 47 in the first half, going 10 for 22 from beyond the arc in the opening 20 minutes of the game. Saunders has been playing extremely well. If you'll remember, Javon Small really played well against him in the first game. West Virginia obviously coming off a big win over TCU, so that's been fun. Second in the conference in scoring is BYU at 81 a game, and their defense is 8th. So I think how big this home advantage is going to be. They pack about 18,000 people into that place, and that's a lot, obviously. They've only lost to Arizona and one other team at home. I think it may have been Ole Miss. I have to go back and look at that. In the first game, the point guard, Demon, if you'll remember, got pulled because of Sincere Harris, the defense in that first half. And, man, he really came back to have a great second half versus him. And that's going to be a matchup in this game that I'm going to be watching because both guys are playing well right now. I think Sincere Harris is playing obviously his best ball of the season, and I expect him to continue that. I don't expect there to be a big drop-off for Sincere, even though this is a good offensive basketball team we're playing tonight. Sincere is going to do him, and I think he could make a huge difference in tonight's game and possibly slant it in West Virginia's favor. I say all that to say this is going to be a tough one, obviously. Late night basketball, BYU, West Virginia. ESPN not liking West Virginia's chances in this one, and I understand why that is. But I don't know that I necessarily agree, and I'll tell you why. I just think West Virginia is a big game team, and I think, you look at the BYU schedule too, and the thing about that is the way it lines up over the next couple of weeks. And look, I don't know how they're going. I mean, they're so hot right now, they could win out for all I know. But they've got Iowa State next in 3 days. Then they've got Utah for the Holy War, which is their pit, on the 8th. West Virginia's in a really good spot here to play spoiler because of those 2 games lingering ahead. One of my big factors in this game is, do you catch BYU maybe looking ahead a little bit? I don't think that'll be the case because West Virginia should have won the game at home. I think BYU knows that. Maybe they want to prove they're a much better team and blow West Virginia out on their home court. But they could get caught looking ahead as well. And I think that'll be a game, if they're flat tonight, maybe that would be one of the reasons why. Because they're an elite shooting team. It's going to be pretty obvious if they're flat. I remember in the first game against them, it was their positional size that seemed like West Virginia was just smaller at almost every position. And that's what it seemed like. So West Virginia is going to have to get on the boards in this game. Obviously, West Virginia has a really good record. I believe they're undefeated when they win the rebounding margin. So that's going to be one to really pay close attention to. The rebounding margin in this game. Neither team elite at it, but BYU certainly a little bit better. But then again, West Virginia out-rebounded a team that usually out-rebounds people in TCU last week. So we'll see what happens here. But overall, I think, I know BYU is favored and they should be favored. Something in my gut just tells me West Virginia is going to rise to the occasion in this game. If you're going to play well, now's the time to do it. I think, you can turn the switch on right now, because you've got Utah and UCF to end the season on, and I think we're going to win both of those games. So if you can beat BYU tonight and get one more upset and then go on this run to end the season with Utah and UCF, who are both, in my opinion, inferior teams to West Virginia, then you're really talking about a great run to the end of the season. You can make a case that will be, that's a 4-game streak to end the year. You can make a case that you're hot to end the season. You're hot going into the Big 12 tournament and hot going into March. And then all these fears that we've kind of had over the last few weeks can be alleviated. We can say, yeah, they struggled down the stretch, but they won 4 in a row to end the year. So unfortunate. Yeah, I've got my door open to try to catch some fresh air. That was a bad idea. That was a bad idea because it's so nice outside. Apparently, bugs are getting in. So, well. I've always got my windows and doors open because I enjoy fresh air. But I guess I didn't consider the fly wanting some camera time. That's pretty funny, West Virginia Rocker. For those who listen on podcasts, the fly flew right by the camera. I think, obviously Javon Small in this game is going to be more than pivotal. I think, if there's a word that you can go above and beyond on, Javon Small is the crowd quieter. He is a ball controller. He takes the air out of games, and he is the guy when you need a big shot, he makes a big shot. When you need a big play, he makes a big play. I think he had a really kind of rough stretch of games, 8 or 9, where teams were really focused on him. But if guys like Sincere Harris and Toby O'Connie and Amani Hansberry can step up and play like they have been, Even though we've lost a few of those games. They were close games, to BYU, to Utah, to Baylor. I think, or not to Utah, but to BYU, to Baylor, in the TCU, even though we beat them the second time around. I think you can make the case, man, that this team is really close to being a lot better than the record says. I mean, look, you are what your record is, and you got to win the games. But West Virginia is really close to being a 23-24 win team. And I think you could end the season with a win on the road at BYU, capping your season off, beating the hottest team in the league, and then going and finishing business on the other trip at Utah, which there's only been one or two teams win both of these games in the entire conference. That's Houston and maybe Iowa State. I'm not sure. But of the teams that have done this Utah trip, there's only been it's killed everybody. Most everybody has lost both or one of these games. So, you get the win at BYU. Obviously, that's the one you prefer over the two. But if you get the one at BYU, you got conference going into Salt Lake City that you're going to get that win as well. And then you got to finish up with UCF, who might be the worst team in the league. Still could beat you, but that would be a 4-game winning streak to end the year, and I think that would be a great way to end it. It all starts tonight at 10 o'clock at night in Provo versus the BYU Cougars. Up next on Locked On West Virginia, I'll tell you who I think is going to win that game and why. And is Rod and Pat Narduzzi actually best friends? I heard something shocking today that kind of blew my mind. Stick around for that. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by Fabric by Gerber. Life moves fast, especially when you have a family. One day you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber, life makes it simple to get term insurance that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online, right from your couch, and you could be covered in 10 minutes. Less, though, in many cases, no health exam required. As a parent, I want to make sure my family's financially protected no matter what happens. Fabric gives me that peace of mind. You can get $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day, so protecting your loved ones doesn't have to break the bank. Fabric also offers free digital wills and access to investment accounts to help you plan for your children's future. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Insurance Company. Not available in certain states, and prices are subject to underwriting and health questions. Let's move to segment 2 and crack a do and talk basketball for another minute. So, this is a game. My keys to the game are obviously this. I think West Virginia has to win the rebounding margin. That's obvious. West Virginia undefeated when it wins the rebounding margin this year. You've got to play elite three-point defense. West Virginia is an elite defensive team. They play elite three-point shooting defense, but even, BYU's elite three-point shooting offense. So strength on strength. It's kind of like a good run defense versus a good running team. Sometimes a good running team wins, and West Virginia you can make the case they're a tired team. They've been playing with a short bench all year. Could it be coming down to the end of the season? And this is a team that may not have a bunch of stamina to run around and chase these shooters that are a really big team. Like I said, that's certainly possible. Over the last 5 games, you've seen Javon Small, Sincere Harris, Jonathan Powell, Toby Oconee, and Amani Hansberry on the court about 30% of the time for West Virginia. And Javon's been averaging about 18.5 points a game over that time. I think he's going to have to get 23 to 25 points tonight for West Virginia to win this game. And it's going to be a quad 1 win if they do get it. But I think you got to win the rebounding margin. Javon's got to get 20 plus. And I'm going to say it's tough because I want to go. Sometimes I feel like Hansberry inside is important to open things up for us conceptually from an offensive point of view. But just a secondary scorer is also really important. Gosh, I need to get that thing out of here. I'm going to go Jonathan Powell. I just think we need him a little bit more tonight to keep everything spaced so that we can get into the lane and then turn them over. I think that's something that we haven't talked about a lot this year with this team. When we force teams over and we can get Sincere Harris and those guys out in the open floor, we're pretty good and tough to guard, especially when we're moving fast. We like to get out and run even with our short bench. And I think West Virginia is going to pull this off tonight. I think West Virginia is going to win this game 73-67. I think West Virginia pulls it off. It's close, but I think West Virginia pulls away at the free throw line late in an upset and a streak to end the year and possibly a better seed than we all imagined and maybe even gets to 20 wins. We're at 17. Tonight would be 18. Utah would be 19. UCF would be 20. That would be pretty sweet. And look, here's the other thing that's on the line that I didn't mention already, by the way. There is a first-round bye on the line right now. We're in a three-way tie for a first-round bye with Baylor and TCU. TCU and Baylor both have the advantage on us from wins perspectives. If the season ended today, we would not get a first-round bye. So we need to win to be able to do that. Typically, you win more than 8 games in the Big 12 with this new way things are. You get that, but we got 3 teams tied at the bottom of the 8 or 9 win mark, whichever one that is. So then that's Baylor, Baylor, TCU, and us. So unfortunately, we're 1 and 2 versus the teams that matter in that. I think TCU was 1-1 and Baylor was 2-1. So Baylor's probably going to get it, and then or maybe it's us, or maybe it'll, who knows who will get it. I don't think it'll be TCU, but I think if we win out, we give ourselves a great shot to do it. So that's another part of this I think that hasn't been talked about enough, guys. Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, I'll talk a little football and Rich Rod and Pat Narduzzi, just straight up hilarity. Be right back. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by Prize Picks. March basketball is here. It's actually March now, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you can pick more or less on at least 2 player projections. And if you're right, you can win 1,000 times your cash. It's fast, easy, and keeps every game exciting. This week, I'm looking at Jason Tatum for more than 29 points and Anthony Davis for more than 12 rebounds. I love how I can make my picks in less than 60 seconds and stay engaged all game long. When I win, my money hits my account as little as 15 minutes. No waiting around. Prize Picks even offers weekly promos like Taco Tuesday, where you can get discounted player projections for even more value. Download the app today and use Locked On College for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Locked On College for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. You can do that at Prize Picks, where you can run your game. All right, guys. And so I want to talk a little Rich Rod here. I'll tell you what, this will be the last time I do this with the door open since it's nice outside. I have, like in dummy, let so many of these flies in. And I didn't even think about too is I have a wheelbarrow where I just throw my trash in right by the front door. That's literally like right beside where my door's open at. So I guess it's not something you think about on that's going to happen on camera. So I do apologize to anyone that saw a fly. It's not the first time it's happened to me on here, actually. In the summertime, it happened to me as well because I've always got windows and doors open. Anyway, no need to apologize for something silly. Everybody gets them. Rich Rod did a podcast yesterday. I don't know if you saw this. Let's see if I can find it. I'm going to try to find it really quick while we're on here, and so I can actually name it. Let's see. Rich Rodriguez. Okay, so he did a podcast called Not Seeing It. It's like it's a radio show. It's really a radio show, not a podcast. Let's see. I wish I knew. let's see, radio show, maybe. Doggone it, man. Oh, there it is. Okay, it was on because it's only got 400 views. So, and it's from 20. It's 93.7 The Fan. West Virginia head coach Rich Rodriguez joined Joe Starkey to talk West Virginia football and the Pitt WVU rivalry. Okay, so I clicked on that this morning. I thought that's interesting. And I guess I didn't know, but Rich Rod and Pat Narduzzi have been really good friends for 17 years. I just, they asked him about the rivalry. He did I feel like it was probably a gotcha quote or kind of a gotcha question. He brought up 13-9, obviously. Maybe he feels like he was obligated to, but it's just, how many interviews do you see a guy who's coached at 3 or 4 places since then bring up something from 2007? To me, it's like this is obviously a Pitt guy, secretly enjoying bringing up 13-9. That was my interpretation, but that could just be me as a West Virginia fan seeing it that way. Rich Rod, they asked him about the Pitt West Virginia rivalry. He talked about how much he hated Pitt, hates to even say the word. Thinks it's the most important game on our schedule every year, no matter what. Much like Ohio State, Michigan fans feel like Ohio State or Michigan is their most important game, no matter what, each year. And then he, I thought it was interesting that they had become close since he coached at West Virginia. To what extent, I don't know. I guess the fact that he wasn't West Virginia anymore probably took that barrier away a little bit. It's kind of like in wrestling to me, the way in my head this plays out. Back in the olden days, especially, kayfabe, they call it, Kayfabe, which is basically means if we wrestle against each other, then in real life we have to pretend we hate each other. And I feel like that goes on with coaching. Sometimes people feel like they should hate each other because of the rivalry. And that's not necessarily the case. I think these guys are all friends. They go to conventions and conferences and they talk to the same folks, and sometimes they coach the same players, and sometimes they trade staff members, and sometimes they meet at luncheons or whatever. And it's naive to think that they wouldn't be friendly, but to hear Rich Rod say that he liked a guy like Narduzzi, who I really dislike, doggone it, man, that hit me in the feels, because I really – hate's a strong word. Obviously, I don't hate Pat Narduzzi, but I hate him. You know what I'm saying? Like, as much as you can hate another sport figure, that, obviously I don't mean it in the real sense of the word, but I hate Narduzzi. He's talked about West Virginia for a long time. He's talked a lot of crap about us. He made his players wear helmets getting off the bus. He called us zoo animals in an interview with 92.7 The Fan, I believe it was, and a myriad of other things. And just don't like his overall demeanor. And listen, he dominated Neil Brown, as far as, from my perspective, in aura. Whenever they met in the middle of the field, it was like, gosh, it seems like Neil's so passive. You're not going to get that with Rich Rod. So I found that to be super interesting. And I don't know what that's going to look like come game week, but hopefully they lean into it and talk crap about each other. I think that'd be hilarious. So a couple updates on spring practice so far. So there have been some guys really standing out in practice that I've been told about, and a couple of them are on the O-line. Xavier Bosley, I'm told, looks incredible. And this is not from Xavier, obviously, himself. I spoke to a couple of defensive players and one offensive lineman that said Xavier is really coming into his own and taking that mantle that Wyatt Milam and those guys kind of left behind. He's a lead by example kind of guy and is really dominating a lot of the one-on-ones in practice. We need that. We need him to do that. We need him to be that. I think it's no secret he's our number one guy and on the line. Even with the portal additions, He's the only freshman All-American of that bunch that I know of. So certainly Xavier is going to be the dude this year. Probably maybe he moves to left. I wouldn't be surprised to see him stay at right just because our quarterbacks are left-handed. I also was told that Jalen Henderson is so far winning this job, and it's not really as close as you would expect. It's because he is now look, this is without pads and it's so early. It's like 2 days in. He's gotten the better of Nico in the first couple of days. This is what I'm told. Now, this is only one person's opinion. Get that through to your head as well. I don't want to sit here and say this for certainty because I didn't watch it. But speaking to a player that was at practice that watches it, in his opinion and those that he talks to, they feel like Henderson's kind of gotten the best of Nico the first couple of days. Doesn't mean anything yet. It just means that, without pads in shorts, running that read option, Jalen Henderson looks a bit faster. That's a big part of it as well. He just moves better. So that's going to psychologically, that's going to kind of give him an edge right now. When it actually comes time for these guys to be hit, like Rich Rod said, they're going to have to let them get hit a little bit so you can see just who does what. But, secondarily to that, he just throws a little bit better of a ball. I said this the other day on tape, he does. And I'll continue to say I want Nico to win the job personally. Like if you're asking me who I could choose to win this job, I want Nico to win it. But that's not necessarily the way it's going to play out, So also Max Brown is really wowing people. So who knows how this is all going to play out? I have no clue. But like if you go watch Max Brown on film, his arm talent is next level, dude. So I think it's going to be fun to monitor the situation and that kind of thing. Also, the freshman running backs from the last couple, obviously, they're I guess they'd be redshirt freshmen now, or maybe they're sophomores. Dunbar and the other guy have looked really good, I've been told. Who else? Oh, also told my dude Reed Carrico looks really good. Said he's moving really well, that kind of thing. So love to see that. I think I was on the receiver side. I was told that Weimer, is it Weimer? Might have been. Is Weimer here yet? I have to go look at my notes. I might have to change that, but I think it was Jeff Weimer that I was said that is so far probably playing some of the best on the wide receiver spots. I don't have my notes with me on it. I forgot to bring them with me, but I'll go back and look at that and I'll update that after the game tonight. If it's not like 2:00 in the morning, when the game goes off tonight, I want to do a post-game live. If you guys will be here, will you guys stay up and watch it? Let me know in the comments. Will you, yes or no, whether that's right now or after this goes off? Would you guys watch a post-game or post-game show after BYU tonight if we win? If we lose, it may not be worth it unless it's controversial because it's going to be so late. I'll do it. I just don't know how many people would actually show up for that. I want it to be worth our while. But like if we win, we're going to be excited. It's going to be a big upset. It's going to be one of the biggest. You put it right there you slot it right. Let's see. I would say in order, you would go number 1, Kansas, because of now, is it the best win? I don't know. You can debate that, but because of the situation around it, it was the first time in 33 years that it had happened and all that. I think you got to go Kansas 1, Iowa State 2, maybe Arizona 2. It depends. It was neutral court. So I'll say Iowa State 2, Arizona 3, Gonzaga 4. But if this happens tonight, you can make a strong case that the way they're playing, you could even say that the BYU win is maybe right there behind Kansas at number 2, but they're not a top 10 team or anything like that. But based how they're playing and the timing of it, maybe our second best win of the year if we get it tonight. So absolutely a huge game. And we're up against it. We're big underdogs. But I love the Mountaineers chances tonight because of our defense. That travels. Javon Small's clutch gene, that travels. Sincere Harris's on-ball defense, that travels. That's a pretty good, that might be a pretty good merch idea. That travels. It travels. I don't know. Anyway, I'm always having these silly little ideas. But yeah, let me know down in the comments below after the fact if you're watching this later or while we're watching it, if you would want to see a post-game show after BYU win, lose, or draw. Let me know if it's only after a win or if you'll watch after either. Let me know how you feel about the direction the show's gone here lately since it's the off season. Not a lot to talk about. Obviously, I'm having to be creative with certain topics. Would love suggestions as long as they come from a place of construction and not just malice like some, then I'm good with it. You know, like I'm not perfect. I totally understand. I think that's all I got. It's going to be a fun day. Obviously, I get to play video games. It's my day off for the most part. So I'm going to play video games. Fly just ain't going to leave me alone today. I get to play some video games after I clear this fly out of my house and watch some baseball maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Other than that, I ain't got a lot else. Hope the Mountaineers win tonight, guys. If they do, I'll see you. I'll see you then. It's going to be fun. Wish we could play a lot sooner than 10 o'clock, but it is what it is. I'll see you tonight, guys. Have a great one. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen. Do me a favor, make Locked On College Basketball your second listen. Isaac Shade and Eddie Patton, man, they make you the most informed college basketball fans in the country each and every day. Make sure to find them on YouTube wherever you get your podcasts, and I'll see you on the next one, guys. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is over, and I'm out.